Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's the podcast where you find new friends and new music. And this week I am joined by a gal who, as one person put it, has a ready laugh, a whiskey tongue, and has Tabasco running through her veins. Plus, she just dropped her latest single in July. I'm talking about Leah Turner. Leah, thanks for jumping on here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
And, we tried to make this happen a couple of times. The world is a crazy place right now. Finally glad that we've been able to link up here.
I know. I keep saying the world is wild and on the loose. It's just like, what's next going to happen? Here in California, we just had an earthquake. And fires and the COVID and all the things. So the world is crazy.
Yeah, yes, it is. Before we get too far into what's going on now, let's kind of give everybody a quick backstory of what it was like growing up as Leah Turner. I mean, you picked up the piano really early, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I sat down when I was about 3-4 years old, just kind of at my grandmother's piano and started to kind of, start the process. And I didn't really start taking piano lessons about 6 or 7 years old. And so once my mom saw me sit on the piano, and she said that I played very delicately where most kids just bang. And I was really trying to be very sweet and make all these notes and all of this stuff with it, melodies. And since then I was in guitar lessons and dance lessons and voice lessons and acting lessons, and every lesson that could be creative, I was in. So, that's what it was like musically for me. But growing up for me, I was raised by, my father is a cowboy. He is a championship team roper in the rodeo. And my mom is first generation Mexican American. And so I grew up in a very diverse background, a very colorful home, and just was able to see, the world through different colors.
Yeah, and you talk about your dad. I mean, he was a championship cowboy, really, in the rodeo, right?
Yeah, he's a team roper. I don't know if you know what team roping is, but you do.
I do.
Oh, most people don't. They're like, what? Is he bronc ride? And I'm like, no, he's a team roper.
I'm fairly familiar with the rodeo. My aunt was actually a champion barrel racer.
Oh, nice.
So,
all of my cousins are champion barrel racers.
I was never, I never had enough guts to get on a horse going that fast. I like a nice, easy trot.
Well, it's made for some people, and some people it's not.
That's very true. And we'll talk about your new song coming up, because it kind of does lend itself back into the story of your parents. But where did you grow up in California?
I did. I grew up in the high desert, which you probably know where it is. It's like because of Joshua Tree and Pioneer Town. I grew up about 5 minutes outside of there.
So that's a very eclectic place for part of the year.
It is. It is. So I grew up there until I was about 13 years old. And my dad had a, pretty big custom furniture business. He builds custom furniture for people. And then I moved down to the lower desert, which is Palm Springs, Palm Desert area, for, the latter part of like my teen years.
Okay. And then you played music, pretty much for your whole life, started on piano. You talked about picking up the guitar. Do you remember when you sat down and wrote your first song?
I didn't actually sit down and write my first song on an instrument. I was coming home from church, and I was in the back of my dad's truck because they were elders in the church. And so we would be there like the last people to leave. And so I would always fall asleep in the back of my dad's truck when me and my mom and dad were driving back home up the 62 to Morongo Valley. And one of my best friends was like moving away or something. I don't really remember, because I think I was like 8 years old, And I started singing this song, and my mom said, "Mija, what is that?" And I just said, "Just a song that I wrote, Mama." And she was like, "Okay." And I was just back there kind of singing along to a melody that came in my head and the words that were in my heart about my best friend leaving.
Well, that's a good segue for us into you writing songs. What does your songwriting process look like now? Is that still kind of how you go about it, where you start with the lyrics and add the instruments later, or is it a little bit of everything?
Well, songwriting is so personal and so emotional and so subjective that it can start, from a melody. It can start from just a feeling. It can start with an amazing guitar riff or just, sitting there on the piano with some chords that sparks a melody. It can be started with a title. It can be started with a line, and then really you wrap around. If it's a melody, you wrap the lyrics and the story and the hook, which is the title of the song, into that. And so it really is very different. I always try and go into writing sessions with a title or an idea or a feeling and some type of a melody and something on the guitar. Like it could go like this, like, what do you guys think? And then it morphs from there.
Well, are you one of those people that likes to do the co-writes more often than writing by yourself, or does it just kind of depend on the song and the scenario and how you're feeling?
I really love co-writing because, you can't do everything by yourself. And I have written songs by myself, but sometimes you just, for me, I sometimes get stuck in my own mind and get stuck like, that's not good enough. Like, well, that's not this, and when you have somebody to bounce something off of that understands your heart and is hearing what you're saying, or you're hearing what they're saying, something really beautiful can come out of that. So I think two is better than one. Two brains are better than one.
Well, I definitely think that's just from doing this podcast, that's kind of what I've learned, is that a lot of people, even if they like to write by themselves, will find a co-write, find somebody that they can write with on a song, just to make sure that it's not just their own self. And you're right, getting stuck in their head a little bit.
Right. Yeah, because you're always constantly questioning yourself, or sometimes you can just settle. And when somebody's there either pushing you or reassuring you, that's a really, beautiful thing. And I've been blessed and I'm super grateful to be surrounded by some really incredible songwriters and people that have grown me and stretched me and encouraged me. So I'm always down to co-write.
Your music has kind of its way of each song having its own feeling and story, even if it's a song that you've written, with the same co-writer. It seems like each song that you have has its own story and its own place. If you had to describe your sound to somebody that had never heard anything by Leah Turner before, how would you describe that?
Well, I think during the Sony days, it was very rockin', cowgirl pop, in your face, sassy country music, you know what I mean? Just a woman that has something to say. And now we're reinventing and really embracing where country music is allowing more diversity, and so we're embracing those Latina roots that I have and, being second generation Mexican American. So we're bringing in my Latin roots into country music. So I would say it's Latin infused because we're, growing and rebranding who I am, and country music has always had such a love affair with the Hispanic, the Latino culture. There's always like a vaquero, a cowboy trying to find a señorita, or everyone's down in Mexico having a margarita or something. And it's really awesome for me to be able to actually be that country song, be half Latina and be half cowgirl and bring those roots together. So I would say we're bringing, some Latin diversity into country music.
I think that's a great way to describe, especially your latest song. And people might have heard you before. You had a fairly successful single, the first one that you put out back in 2014. It was off of your debut album, but pull the curtain back for us a little bit. What's it like for an artist when you take that leap and finally decide to release your very own EP? I mean, I feel like it was a little bit different back in 2014 because streaming was just kind of coming about at that point. It wasn't the main focal point like it is now.
Yeah, I've been really blessed to be able to have a top 40 single, and that song, Take the Keys, took me all around the United States and some places outside the United States, and has given me a career. And now, that I'm fairly an independent artist, I do have, wonderful management, but we're doing it independently on our own. But the beauty of that is streaming is a big deal. You know what I mean? And streaming really does make or break what the song is and what the song isn't, But what's cool is people are able to kind of choose what they want to listen to. They don't have to be programmed to listen to it, So for me, it's really exciting to be able to see the reaction that's happening for this new single, and that people are really responding to it because it is different, and it is different, infusing, the Latin culture, really the Latin culture into country music. So it's scary, but I've never been one to back down from a fight. So here we are.
And your music really kind of speaks to that, of you being you and not backing down from a fight. I think honestly, the first time that I came across your name was last year when Blah 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 came out.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a unique song in the music space right now, because it's not your typical country song, but it also doesn't really fit directly into the pop genre either. And I feel like a lot of what you're releasing is kind of blurring the lines between country and some of these other genres, which is really kind of what's just happening organically out there in the country scene in general.
Yeah, for me, I think, there's a lot of people that love country music, but if you could, pop music just means a popular melody that sticks in your head. You know what I mean? And of course, there's different instrumentation and there's different storytelling, And so for me, I've always wanted to bring together those two worlds to be able to let people know outside of, the four walls of country music that, country music is cool too, and that we do have really great stories, and you can actually see the stories unfold in front of you, and also give them the opportunity to sing along with that and see, really what country music stands for. And that is diversity. That's, faith, family, love, and hard work, and, a lot of drinking. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just bring those sing-along melodies, those storytelling lyrics, and kind of bust out of the four walls of country music to let people know that cowboys and cowgirls can get down and are cool too.
Well, that song specifically, I was excited to talk to you about it because I feel like there's got to be some sort of a story behind it. I feel like that's one that was written from a real life story. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, and you're not wrong about that at all. All of my songs are written from a real life story, and I think that's sometimes why people really connect with them, because it's authentic, and it's something that I really went through, and I really needed to get off my heart, and did, in hopes to touch somebody else and become a soundtrack to those people's lives, and that's either getting them out of a sad moment, keeping them in that moment, making them happy, giving them the pelotas, the balls to stand up and say, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's exactly what I did with Blah, 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 is, I was in a relationship, and it was all of these, I'm going to do this, and I want to do this, and there's a future, and blah, 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 blah. And it finally just was like, you know what? No more. Because all it is, and all I'm hearing is blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just all words, and I'm done, because I know my worth, I know who I am, and this is not what I want to stand for, put up with, or deserve. So there you go. Sayonara, muchacho.
I love it. And you put that song out last year when you were named the part of the Next Women of Country class. As, a Latina woman as yourself, I know that's kind of, in country music, there's not a lot of representation there. How important was it for you to be named as part of that class, and then to be able to come out here and do what you're doing now?
It's always an honor. Leslie Fram has been such an amazing support of me throughout my whole career. And the things that she's doing for women in country music is incredible. It's a little bit unequal in some of the situations that we're put in with country music. So she's really been steadfast and a front runner for us all. And then for me to also be Latina and being able to influence my music, it's really exciting to show diversity and show, we all come in different shapes, colors, and sizes, but we all have the same heart. And We love good lyrics. We love our family. We love, all those things that I listed before, which is, the very foundation of what country music is: faith, love, family, hard work, and drinking. So it's been awesome to marry those two worlds together and really be a part of the American dream and really be a real country song.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there with that description. And I want to talk about this new song that you put out. We've been hinting at it this whole podcast so far. You put it out in July, and you were kind enough to share it with us today. We'll let everybody take a listen to it in a second. But before we do that, give us the backstory to this song, because you mentioned that a lot of your songs are, about real life and about stories that you've gone through. This one, even more so.
Yeah, so this song is inspired by, a true love story, and it happens to be mis padres' love story, my parents' love story. And, my mom and dad fell in love in a time where it was said that those two worlds did not come together. Hispanics, Latinos, Mexicanos were not marrying white cowboys. And my dad saw my mom, and he was just like, I don't care, I love her. And they did go up against some not awesome times with these two worlds being so different. But so I wanted to show, that love always wins, you know what I mean? And you love who you love. And if we stop looking at the outside and start looking at the heart, because, we all might be different colors on the outside, but we're the same color on the inside. We both bleed red, everybody bleeds red, So it was really cool to bring that together and kind of do an introduction into, me influencing my Latin roots into country music. And when a vaquero fell in love with a señorita down in Mexico. And that's what this is about, just a love story. And it could be one weekend, it could be one night, or it could be like my parents 45 years later. But love always wins. And if we look at the heart, I think we can really see what people really are versus judging by their skin. Definitely.
Was there something about this year or the timing of this song that really pushed you to write this story and put it out? Or was it just something that came about from a writing session?
I wrote this, I would say about a year and a half ago. And we filmed it in the video in Rosarito in January. So this was before all of this stuff started. It was just really wanting to tap into my Latin roots and really show that there are Mexicanas, Latinas, Latinos, Hispanics that love country music. Vaqueros, which are cowboys, were the first cowboys, And my father is a vaquero, and my mom's a señorita, and so it was just an easy marriage. Country music has been dating the Latino culture for so long, and it's awesome for me to be able to be, half Mexican and actually marry those two worlds with authenticity. And so it really just kind of is just working out, that there's so much diversity being talked about and being able to really be shown that, God's timing is everything. And he lined it up, it wasn't any type of a thing that we're like, put it out now. We were just going with what our gut said, and it just happened to work out like this, that it was really time for diversity to be brought to country music. And here we are.
Well, it's worked out for you so far. It's got over 100,000 streams on Spotify, and now Here it is for everybody else to take a listen to. This one's called "Once Upon a Time in Mexico" by Leah Turner.
La luna in the sky, sipping on red beside the lion. Beating loud on local time, rhythm of the waves on the tide. Could have been the sand, the mariachi band. Could have been the way he said my name. Heat on my skin when he pulled me in, as he whispered besame. We dance till the moonlight go, the night before a vaquero. Once upon a time in Mexico. Sunlight Mexico. I can feel his hands on my hips, still love stoned off a kiss. Every summer night I reminisce, and I still wonder where he is. Could have been the sand, the mariachi band. Could have been the way he said my name. Heat on my skin when he pulled me in, as he whispered Besame. We danced until the moonlit go, and I fell for a vaquero. Once upon a time in Mexico. Some love's faded, some love's gone. Some love stories won't let go. Once upon a time in Mexico. Once upon a time in Mexico. Until the moonlit go, and I fell for a vaquero. Once upon a time in Mexico. Some love's faded, some love's gone. Some love stories won't let go. Once upon a time in Mexico. Once upon a time in Mexico.
And that one is the latest single from today's guest, Leah Turner. It's called Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And Leah, we talked about it a little bit. The story is inspired by your family, but the video also has some family connections as well. You've filmed it, in a city that's home to some extended family. How important was it for you to actually make sure that your family was involved in the video of a song about really your family?
Yeah. I just really wanted it to be, authentic. And I really wanted, it to pay homage to my Latin culture. And so I was like, we have to shoot it in Mexico. And thank God my manager was like, I agree. Let's fly out there. And, my tío and mi tía, my aunt and uncle, they live in Rosarito, Mexico. And they live also here in California. And so we called them up. And they set up the restaurant, they set up the horses, they set up, they had police come on the beach and make sure that no one bothered us. They literally set up everything for us for that video to be a success. And then my cousin, she does hair and makeup. And so she did my hair. And then one of my really good friends, who also is Latino, came out and did my makeup. And it was and my mom came down there, and all my cousins were there, my aunt and uncle, obviously. And so it was just a really cool family affair for them to really see a part of them even being put into country music. It was just really awesome, and the support that I've gotten has been overwhelming, and I'm just really grateful.
Well, and we'll make sure to link to that video in the description of this podcast, because it really is. It's a great video, and I'm excited to share it with everybody, especially with the story behind it. And you put it out in the middle of a pandemic, which I know the goal for the song, it just kind of came about as it did. But when you started thinking about, okay, we're really going to put this song out in July, after filming the music video in January, before all of this craziness even started, how much did that kind of weigh on your decision of when to actually release the song, if at all?
We were just like, it's now or never. What are we going to do? Just sit on this beautiful song, this awesome video, until next summer? No, we're not. And, people are at home streaming. People are at home on YouTube. People are at home on Instagram. And so it really was just like, do or die, now or never. Let's go for it. And like I said, we've never been afraid of any type of a fight. So we did it, and it's working out incredible. And, obviously things look a little bit differently because we're doing things via Zoom, and you're not out on radio tour or even touring at all. But like I said, God is good, and his timing is everything. And it's really seeming to work out in my favor, which I'm extremely grateful for.
I would say so. People being stuck at home, I think, has really kind of changed the music atmosphere and just art in general, I think.
Yeah.
being at home. I'm intrigued to see, you know, at the end of the year, Spotify does that. Like, what have you been listening to this year? I'm kind of intrigued to see how much that's changed with some of my friends over this year. And I'm sure that your song will be in there quite a bit. I've had 2 or 3 people that have talked about it with me already. I know that it's, you know, 100,000 streams is a big deal on Spotify, and it just keeps growing. But for the rest of this year, do you have any plans for the rest of 2020 or entering 2021? Or are you just kind of holding on and seeing how it goes?
Yeah, no, so we're going to release Once Upon a Time in Mexico in Spanglish because I am bilingual, and I was able to work with a 16-time nominated Latin producer. He's worked with the likes of, you know, J-Lo and Camilo Cabello and J Balvin and Maluma, Pink, you know, just to name a few. And, you know, I knew him from, you know, being here in California, and just kind of said, hey man, like, would you be interested in doing this with me? You know, like doing it in Spanglish and recording it with me, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said, absolutely. So right now I already put the vocal down, and he's currently mixing it and putting a little bit more of his Latin flavor on that. And then we're going to release that as well, just to really tap into that market even more and take country music global, because that's, you know, what my dream is to let everybody know the foundation that I stand on, and that is country music, and that Latinos, you know, love it too.
Well, I'm excited for that. Do you have a general time frame that we can tease everybody with?
Yeah, so we should have it. We're waiting for it to get back. He texted me today and was like, I'm so sorry it's taking so long. I'm just being super anal about these couple of parts. I want them to be perfect, you know. So we should have it by the end of this month, and then release in mid-October. That's the plan. But as this year has gone, we have been shown that our plans do not matter. So we're going to try our best to keep that going. But who knows with 2020. But that's the plan, mid-October.
Where can people keep up with you online, on social media, so that they can know when it drops?
Yeah, so you can keep up with me on Instagram, Leah Turner Music, Facebook, Leah Turner, Twitter, Leah Turner Music, and Spotify, Apple Music, all the platforms I'm on, and we'll be keeping updates there. And just listen, like, save, follow, share, do all the things.
I love it. And Leah, before we let you get out of here, first off, thank you for jumping on here with us. But we always end every podcast in the same way. It's called the Final Four, and it's probably the 4 toughest questions I'm going to ask you this whole time, just because they're going to make you think. Okay. Okay. Here's the first one. If you could go on tour with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh gosh. Well, I would do 2. One would be Selena, and then the other one who's alive is Eric Church.
Oh, those are both great picks.
Right?
They are. So does that mean that you're as excited for this album from Eric Church as everybody else is?
I mean, I saw him one time at the Bridgestone, and it was a 4-hour show, and I was standing on my feet the whole entire time, did not even feel like 4 hours, and did not want it to end. So I just think he is so incredible and such a badass, and heck yeah, he's just one of a kind.
Okay, how about this one? Where were you and who were you with the first time you heard your song on the radio?
I was on my way to Detroit. I was with my record rep, and I heard it on WYCD, Detroit's country radio station, and it was a feeling like I've never felt before. It was just incredible that all the hard work was finally coming to fruition and standing in a dream that I've been dreaming for a while.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, how about this one? Who are your most recently 3 played artists on Spotify?
Well, I'm doing a cover of Till the Last Teardrop Falls by Freddie Fender. Ooh. So he would be recently replayed. I have been listening to a lot of Maluma because I just think he is so incredible. And then always, George Strait's always on repeat, Eric Church and Trisha Yearwood. I mean, it's just a constant revolving door of them because they're just, and Tanya Tucker, her record is just incredible. So I know that's more than 3, but it's really hard to pick because they're just so incredible.
You were faster at that question than most people. Most people really have to sit and think about it because they can't narrow it down to just 3. I like it. You just took 5. You're like, these ones.
Yeah, well, because they're always on repeat for me, and they're always a go-to. And then recently, just been listening to Freddie Fender and really digging into him, and him being really the only other Latino that has done anything in country music besides Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
okay, how about this one? The last question: what is your favorite on-stage memory?
Oh gosh, my favorite onstage memory is when I played the Greek Theater here in Los Angeles. I had seen Trisha Yearwood there when I was a little girl, and she made me cry. And I thought, man, I want to invoke that type of emotion in somebody else for the rest of my life. And then and that was at the Greek Theater. And then 20 years later, I'm opening for Jake Owen. And I'm there standing on that stage where she was standing in my dream, looking out to a sold out crowd, singing along to the songs that I'd written. And that to me just made me go, wow, keep dreaming because they do come true, and don't ever give up. Because when you do, that's when they don't come true. And so that moment for me was just like, holy crap. Thank you, Jesus. This is awesome.
I can imagine. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling. And actually, one more question I have. I know I said that was the last one,
okay,
but I hear that you have a connection to Kenny Loggins.
I do. When I was in college for 2 seconds in Santa Barbara, I took a songwriting class, just to kind of really dive in and just, try and hone my craft in any way, shape, or form that I could. And the final was, to write a song from what you've learned in that class. And a celebrity guest would come in and, pick the song, and you would sing it in front of him. And so my song got picked by Kenny Loggins because that was the celebrity guest. And he said to me, I am not telling you to drop out of school, but I am telling you to pack your bags and go to LA because you have a future in music. And so 2 weeks later, I called my parents and said, I'm leaving. And they were like, we've been waiting for you to tell us that. Sent up the truck, and then the rest is music history in the making.
That is awesome. Well, Leah, thank you so much for jumping on here. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you bearing with us over the last couple of weeks as we tried to get everything scheduled out.
Of course. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful and blessed day, and stay safe.
Yes, very much stay safe.
Yes.
That was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast, the country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Leah Turner and Once Upon a Time in Mexico.